This week on the Steam Machine Podcast, Cthulhu, Hoodoo, you do. Do what, sir? Dredge the sea. Cue the music! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me as always over the Shoutout.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Nate!
Hey, it's Willie. How you doing?
Boys, it's spooky season. We're finally here.
Yeah.
Our most active month these days. And I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. It's been a good start to the October, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it, man. What you boys been up to this past week?
Not too much crazy stuff going on with me. The weather's finally started dropping, so I've been spending some more time outside, which has been really nice. Finally cleaned off my back patio, got all the leaves from last year off of it. They're going to start falling again. I'm going to have to do it again, but got everything nice and cleaned out there, and it's been really nice. And I finished the DLC for Sonic Frontiers, and I just want to talk about that for a minute. I feel like that's what they really wanted the game to end like in the first place. As far as story-wise, they really did a really good job with fleshing out the ending, making it more cohesive to the rest of the story, and I felt like overall it was more satisfying. The final boss that they added into the DLC is so much better than the final boss in the main game. One thing I will say that they did is they ramped the difficulty up on this sucker to 11. I thought this was going to add 5 hours of gameplay to the game. I just checked right now. Over the last 2 weeks, I've played it 15 hours, and I just finished it today.
Damn.
So for me, it was 15 hours of additional content to a game I already liked a lot. So
You already beaten it twice back in the day. You beat it twice when it came out.
I was really thrilled with it. It gets really freaking hard. Because, honestly, I'm, for the most part, played this game on hard mode. And I did that, played this on hard, where I looked it up, and on easy mode, they add, extra bumpers and targets and balloons to make climbing these new towers easier. Didn't use them at all. I only had to change the difficulty for one section because they added this mechanic that a lot of video games have called the perfect parry. Because Sonic's parry in the game was really overpowered. You could hold the parry for a long time and it would still parry whatever attacks came at you. This one, on hard mode, apparently it gives you 5 frames.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of the so where I had to change the difficulty to get the perfect parry down was for this one part where it basically makes you do a boss rush of the 3 first bosses in the game back to back with a limited amount of rings as supersonic. So you have 400 rings to go through all 3 boss fights.
I feel like you had more than that for the first boss alone.
So it really throws it at you. I actually had to turn the game down to easy mode to beat it, where it gives you 2 seconds for your perfect parry instead of 5 frames. Because I could get it sometimes, but those boss attacks sometimes they're not as obvious as or telegraphed as you would like for them to be. This isn't Dark Souls. You can't have a perfect parry like that. It's just stupid. So I did do it on easy mode. Right after I beat that, I turned it back up to hard mode, and that was pretty much right before the final boss. So then I beat the final boss on hard mode. And like I said, the final boss was way more satisfying. Playing as all the 3 characters. I will talk about that for a second, too. So, in my opinion, Amy was the most fun of the 3 other characters to play. She has really cool movement and all this kind of stuff. She gets this ability later on that will kind of make you think of games like Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors, where you have the drift while you're boosting. Amy gets a drift, so I thought that was pretty cool. And she also has the ability to have a triple jump, basically, and a float mechanic. And her section, all her stuff was really fun because you felt like you were just moving like crazy and had a lot of options and things to do. Tails is freaking broken. And I just mean that as Tails is overpowered and insane. He gets this ability where where you hold the boost. Well, instead of going boost on him, he gets in his helicopter, like airplane thing. I can't remember what it's called from like Sonic Adventure 2 or 1. And he can fly, like a super fast fly. And I swear to God, I think he goes faster than Sonic can. I was just like, this is ridiculous.
So an ass.
I always feel like playing Tails in any of the Sonic games has always felt kind of like cheating. Like, you get to just break the level wide open.
And so, like, I thought he was really broken. He was fun, but broken. Knuckles was the most challenging character to play as, because I don't think his glide and climb mechanics are as polished as they needed to be, which bums me out a little bit. It's still fun. Some of the sections are really challenging, though, and make you think about how you do them. But, like, he has this ability that makes his glide go super fast, and it goes too fast for some of these puzzles.
I think that Knuckles definitely suffers from the fact that the best open world game came out a while back, and gliding and climbing are two of the main mechanics in that particular game.
Yeah.
So after Breath of the Wild broke the world open on terms of open world games, it's going to be hard for people to catch up and get all that movement. Because, again, like, you see how many, like, imitators there are in terms of, like, other games that's paragliding, high jumping, and climbing. Like, it's crazy.
He kind of nerfed Knuckles, too, I feel like, because there's only certain surfaces he can climb on. He can't climb on everything like he could in, like, Sonic Adventure, which just kind of felt like a nerf for Knuckles, which is kind of a bummer, but still really fun.
It's Nerf for Knuckles, my favorite slogan.
But yeah.
That could be a band name.
Overall, like, if you like Sonic Frontiers at all, this DLC is super worth it. Do not feel bad if you have to change the difficulty to easy, because it is ridiculous. Even the platform sections that, like, I'm good at platforming video games. There were points where I wanted to pull my hair out and yell at it because it's climbing towers, right? So if you make one wrong step, you fall all the way back to the down. This is getting over it in Sonic.
Oh, man.
Dalton, you said it sounded like a band name, and now I'm thinking, which sounds more like a Midwest emo band to you? Nerf for Knuckles or Roses for Amy?
Those are both really good.
Roses for Amy.
Yeah. That's my emo band name, called it.
Yeah.
What was it? Tat.
Or maybe A Rose for Amy.
Rose for, yeah, because then they could tour with Bullet for My Valentine.
Or it could be Black Rose for Amy. It could be kind of like a more gothy metalcore thing.
Not bad.
There's a lot of options, man.
Again, it was so funny because this afternoon I was sitting down trying to decide what game I wanted to play, because like I didn't want to feel like starting on our next game for next week yet. So I was sitting down. I was like, man, there's 3 games I want to play. And as I was sitting there staring, and I was like, all 3 of these games are Sega. Because I was looking at Sonic Frontiers, which obviously is what ended up winning. Persona 5, which is Atlas, which is Sega, and Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is Ryogo Ga, which is Sega.
I have installed and uninstalled Kiwami 2 twice in the past week and a half. Because I'm like, no, I'm not going to start it yet. But I really want to play it, and I'll go and install it again. And then I'll go to be like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to play it, and then I'll uninstall it.
Yeah, I've kept mine installed. Like, I keep looking at it. And now that I have Sonic Frontiers beat the 2 games that are going to be... there's 3 games competing for my attention other than our next game, which is going to be Kiwami 2, Persona 5, and Sea of Stars. Because I started on Sea of Stars, got about 45 minutes into it, and then I started playing Dredge. So...
Yeah, I haven't ripped off the Sea of Stars Band-Aid yet.
Yeah.
The thing that's keeping me from wanting to just jump in and start Sea of Stars is knowing that I still have to start Persona 5 for the yearly episode. And I'm just like, I don't have the hours. If I gotta start, start.
And I need to dive back into Persona 5 as well. Also, shout outs to our good buddy, Team Retrogue, aka Mikolov. He mailed me a package today that I got today, and it was the Hori Split Pro controller for the Switch, which basically lets you put these things in your Switch, like where the nunchucks, Joy-Cons go, and it's basically like you have a full controller on either side of the gamepad, so it's like playing with a Pro controller with the gamepad in the middle, and I love it. Super cool. It's way more comfortable than the Joy-Cons. Dude,
when I got the grip thing that you slide your Switch into, so like mine still has the Joy-Cons on it, but I have the pistol grips on both sides, That's what I call it, pistol grips. But you know what I mean. Dude, it's game changer for playing Switch handheld.
Oh yeah, because like I'm a big-handed boy.
Yeah, I feel you, dog. And it's like trying to hold that flat ass Switch, like it would make my wrists hurt. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know how to explain it. So yeah, dude, so I can imagine that for you too.
Yeah,
having them bulky. Oh yeah,
yeah. Because I played on it today because I decided I wanted to go for the second ending in Dredge, and it just felt great. I loved it. So thank you very much, dear Mikolov.
You the man, Mick. What you been up to, man?
I got a couple things bubbling over that I haven't quite got enough to talk about yet, so I'll probably try to bring them up in the next couple episodes, depending on if I have any like progress to report. But for right now, I don't really have anything I need to bring up.
Okay,
fair enough. Me, so I started playing Final Fantasy XIV again. Been messing around with that. Speaking of Mikolov, he popped over and joined my server and my free company, so I've been running some PvP with him. It's been pretty fun. Not that we're either of us are any good, but it's fun nonetheless. I've also been messing around with Session. Now Session is a skateboarding game for the PC. Two things. On the Steam store on Session, it says, yo, this is not playable with a mouse and keyboard. Don't even try. You need a gamepad for this game. Right? And they mean that because Session is a skateboarding simulator. So it's much more in depth. Think about Tony Hawk, where you hold X and then you jump, you hit square and left and you pop your kickflip. Like that was the style, right? But then it moved on to skate, where you did all your stuff with the right thumbstick and you steered with the left thumbstick, right? Well, in Session, you can steer with the thumbstick kind of left and right, but at least the controls that I have set up, my right stick controls my back foot and my left stick controls my front foot. So when I want to ollie, I'll hold down my right stick and he'll lean down, and then I throw my left stick up and he'll pop and do the ollie. So you're having to hold your right stick down, spin it to the right real quick, and then pop a kickflip to do a varial kickflip or a 360 flip and things like that. When you're going to do grinds, you have to ollie up, and then if you want to do a board slide, you turn yourself sideways, and then you take both your sticks and hold them down so it plants your feet down, and then you can do it. They haven't implemented grabs yet, but they have been working on that. The game is out of early access. It's on a full release, and it's got a story mode that I've been going through. It's been a blast. I've been treating it like my Dark Souls, because it'll give you missions to go do, bro, and I'll do them 200 times in a row before I finally get that motherfucker right.
I love that, man. I love that you found a game you actually enjoy doing that into, because I know you expressed some frustration on precise platforming Metroidvania type things before, or even just boss segments in those kind of games. So the fact that you found something you're banging your head against and having a blast with, I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's been very fun. It's almost like a puzzle game to me, in a sense, in my brain, trying to piece it together. Okay, how do I make this fit perfectly to where it's going to come out nice? And I've sent you guys a couple clips of me doing things completely on accident, like the 50-50 dark slide that was just perfect down that rail and then kicked off of it. And I'm just clean. It's just damn, I didn't mean to do that, but that looked really cool. and I've done a few things like that. But now it's getting to the point where I do some things on purpose and they look cool, and I'm hell yeah. So progress,
You'll be Rodney Mullen in no time.
Also, call to arms to any listener. I have started playing Palia. Palia. It is a life sim, farming sim, your typical Animal Crossing-esque style game, but it is an MMO. And it is super relaxing, and I would love to go fishing and do stuff with people if they want. So if anybody wants to play, I know Master Loot has taken up and been checking it out. I think Adam was going to look into checking it out. So if anybody else wants to play it with me, it's free. You can go download it from their website, because it's still in a beta. So it's they're still implementing things and improving on things, but they're very active with feedback. They do listen to the community from everything that I've seen. The game's gorgeous. So Disney Dreamlight Valley is like this kind of game too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's Disney. Think about back in the day when there would be like a Disney Pixar film, and then there would be that other studio that put something out. It was like it looked DreamWorks. Thank you. This is the DreamWorks equivalent of Dreamlight Valley Disney, right? Because they're kind of similar art styles. But I'm really enjoying it.
Unfortunately, I couldn't afford either. I have to play the Illumination version.
Hey, say that about Illumination.
Although,
Illumination made the Mario movie.
I was going to say, are those guys premium now that they've made the Mario movie?
They've been pretty premium because like they got all their kicks off of making the Minions movies.
Yeah, but I always feel like the Minions, like, they made a lot of money and they're pretty beloved, but I didn't think that they were, like, critically acclaimed or whatever. Like, I didn't think that compared to even DreamWorks, they were considered, like, as serious or legit.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least now that's changed with the Mario movie, at least.
That's probably
Gru
true.
is such a good character.
Yeah.
Gru.
He's basically what if Dr. Eggman had more of a heart.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, man,
But if he had more of a heart, he'd be Megamind, so DreamWorks stays winning.
He had more of a mind, Willie, not more of a heart.
Damn it! Okay, I take the L on that one.
Damn. But it's funny you mentioned...
That would hit me so hard, my shirt has a big L on it now. Damn.
You mentioned climbing mechanics and stuff. I did notice when I was playing Palia that I accidentally like ran down the side of this cliff and my guy caught it and started climbing, and it had a little stamina bar pop up, and I was like, oh, okay. And now I have a mission to gather up this ingredients to take it to this girl so she can make me a glider.
Hey.
Oh, okay. But I'm like, that's cool. If I can be up here and I need to get down there and I can just shoo through the air instead of having to run the trail, fuck yeah, give it here.
Yeah.
Speaking of gliding and climbing,
and it's not a huge install.
Short Hike was good.
I know that's a perk for a lot of people. It's not a huge install.
That is. I will say I'm looking up screenshots of it now, though, and it has some very MMORPG looking like city and character designs.
Yeah, and but
like a lot of these are like, this is some World of Warcraft stuff fell off of a truck.
Oh, it looks better than World of Warcraft. I will give it that.
It's more colorful in a lot of places. I'll say that.
But so far, I haven't run into any combat other than like hunting, and that's just just popping arrows off at animals until they disappear and leave you with a little bag of loot. But I've been enjoying my time with it so far, and they keep updating it and adding things. So I'm curious to see what they keep adding to it.
That's cool, man. Sounds neat.
Yeah.
I like the little cat dude I'm seeing on here a lot.
One other thing that I did is I installed, and if we ever play it for the show, I will probably get y'all to install this as well, or I might be able to just zip it and send it to you and it work. But Stardew Valley, right?
I have it.
There's a mod list for it in Wabbajack.
Oh, okay. Wait, Wabbajack works?
Wabbajack works for a bunch of different games. There's one for Cyberpunk. There's one for Dragon Age Origins. There's a few for other, or at least there used to be one for Borderlands. I don't know if it's still up or not, but yeah, there's one for Stardew Valley, and it's called the Bustling Valley, and it adds new locations, new farms to visit, new NPCs to talk to that are fully fleshed out with quests and everything like that. It just takes this really good game and just gives you more things to do, and expands on it, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
I'm very early on. I'm only a few days into my playthrough. I was going to play more tonight after we're done recording. Because here's the thing. During spooky season, I'm going to be watching and playing a lot of scary things that are going to make my heart race, things that are going to make my mind go if we're playing psychological type stuff. I like to have that cleanse. You know what I mean? It's like when I used to watch Black Mirror. I would watch a few episodes of Black Mirror and then I would go binge like a season of Family Guy to just laugh and cleanse the Black Mirror off of me, because like, God, as much as I love that show and how well it is written, like it is anything but happy more often than not, so I acquired a bunch of different life sims. I'll tell you some of them right now, and then we can move on.
Because about 8 of them came out this year.
A bunch,
apparently.
dude. I got Doraemon, Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom, Faith.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say? Can you repeat the last few words and put commas where they belong?
Doraemon, Story of Seasons.
Okay, so Doraemon is a separate game, right?
It's Doraemon Story of Seasons. It's like a spin-off of Harvest Moon Story of Seasons, but with Doraemon, which is a Japanese anime that I think's been around forever.
I know I know who Doraemon is. I was trying to figure out if those two concepts were connected. I see it now. I had never heard of Doraemon Story of Seasons.
It's like a little Harvest Moon game,
cute.
but with Doraemon. And it's again, not a big install. I got it off Fit Girl if you wanted to check that out. But I got that. I got Fae Farm, Grow, Song of the Evertree, Harvest Moon, The Winds of Anthos, Paleo Pines, which is a cutesy little life sim game, but there's dinosaurs. Rune Factory 3 Special, Rune Factory 5. One that I think would be cool for the show sometime, Sakana of Rice and Ruin. You're a rice farmer in Japan. That could be cool. And then
I feel like if I were to get into a cozy like farming and easy fun life sim type game right now, I think the one I would really want to play would be Slime Rancher, just because it seems like it is like maybe the lowest stress game I've ever seen.
You say that, but there were times that me and Megan would have like our nighttime, like where we were hanging out on Discord, and I would watch her play Slime Rancher. And she would get a slime or two that would become infected or whatever it is, and it would start spreading through all her slimes, and she would freak out.
But still, it seems still like easier to deal with than even like the progress of time and seasons and stuff in your Harvest Moon type games.
Yeah, I suppose so. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun game. I own Slime Rancher. It's fun. It's very cute. But Bug Snacks is also cute.
Bug Snack. That's also, I didn't even think about Bug Snacks. That would be a fun one to do.
Bug Snacks, dude. That is such a cute game that is masking what it really is. Like,
I know. I'm so tempted to be like, maybe that's a next year, next October type of game. Actually, wouldn't it be wild if we had like, aside from the free games week, and if we do a multiplayer one, something else too, but like do like multiple games. It's like cute facade. Weird game underneath,
Doki
like
Doki.
Aversion or Doki Doki Literature Club, or like lots of possibilities there.
What was that? What was the one that it starts with an I that Dave was playing? Inscription.
Oh yeah, that's a great choice. I was thinking of Pony Island by the same devs as a really fast one, but Inscription seems like a really thorough game.
I have a YouTube video right now in a playlist that I was watching before I started streaming session. And one of the videos is about Pony Island.
Pony Island's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I did play through that one.
I know nothing about it, so I'm looking forward to that video now.
It's kind of best to go into it knowing as little as you can, except if you know there's a twist, that's fine. I mean, it's still really entertaining the way it handles it.
And the dude who did Pony Island, what did he go on to do after that? I know he did something. Oh,
Inscription.
Okay, yeah.
That's why that came up just
he also,
now.
The Hex. The Hex is another one of his games.
I think that's also the same person.
I was thinking, I'm like, there's another game in that folly of games that he did. Yeah, the Hex. That's another one that I have installed, and I'm like, I look at it sometimes, I'm like, I should check this out, and then I never do. Because my brain's like, no, you should play the game for the show, motherfucker. What are you doing? Speaking of the game for the show, boys, we played a little.
Hold on.
What?
I'm sorry. I was just thinking of something that was related, and then I realized I didn't quite get it exactly right.
We played a little ditty called Dredge, and Dredge is a 2023 ODubs obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. Wikipedia bullshit. Dredge is a 2023 indie fishing game developed by New Zealand studio Black Salt Games and is published by Team 17. When I read Team 17, my brain goes, Team 17, Cable 9. Because there used to be a TBS Channel 17, Cable 9, where I live. Anyway, sorry. The game follows a fisherman who encounters increasingly Lovecraftian creatures as he ventures out further into an open world archipelago. I love that word. The game was released on March 30th, 2023 for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Dredge sees the player controlling a small motorized fishing boat. The game has a day and night cycle, and the rest of the stuff that it's talking about, we could talk about. So, boys, I had a little bit of previous interaction with this game. So I'm gonna let you guys start off the. What was your first first thoughts, first impressions? That was, man, I can't think tonight. This is me when I don't have pot.
This is your brain off pot.
This is my brain off pot. I need to hit this pan a few more times and I'll be all right. But like I'm out of green right now, so I'm just like I'm trying.
His insanity meter is filling up and he needs to lower it.
It's dark outside. These lamps aren't that bright. I'm losing it. Willie, what was your first impression of this game loading it up, my good sir?
I could go first, but I would say that out of all of us, I also went in having started the game last, like often happens. So I did have a little bit of an idea of what to expect from what you guys had talked about a little bit, but not much, honestly. Like I didn't know what the mechanics were going to be like. Really, the only thing I knew was it was kind of a fishing game, that there were horror elements, and that I could probably finish it in 1 or 2 days, depending on how hard I wanted to play it and how completionist I felt like being.
Okay.
So I opened it up, got right in. Was really drawn to the very, very, very beginning of the game, where it's like, well, your boat wrecked. Welcome to our town. You're the new fisherman. Mysterious shit happened before you got here. You have taken out a loan. Go fish and pay it off. And I'm like, oh, cool. I get to do some business and buy upgrades and all that. I was very much in a mind for that this morning.
For sure. All right. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, so when I dived in, so like I thought it was a really cool intro where basically like you're this boat captain whose boat gets destroyed and you float into town or whatever, and they immediately, the mayor there sets you up with a new boat. It's like, hey, help us pay this off and you can have it and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, wait, I have a loan out to this guy now. Is this guy going to be my Tom Nook?
See, that's what I was going to say. And it was at that point that the mayor rips his skin off and he's actually a raccoon.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I'm going to be beholden to this dude and he's going to be a jerk. And honestly, it did not take long to pay off that debt until the point of where you could start doing other things. So like, I really enjoyed that first trip I took out to the water. I was like, let's go see what kind of fish I can find. And like, you go to this first little school of fish and you start catching things. And I was like, oh, this is going to be nice. And of course, stay out there until it's dark, right? And then when it gets dark, you're like, everything gets a little bit spookier. You see these red and green lights floating on the water. Like, the longer you stay out there, your sanity meter goes down, and this, like, eyeball thing at the top of the screen starts twitching left, right, all around. You're like, oh, God, this is kind of scary. And then you...
So I think that's like...
I was saying, then you go back to town and rest, and then everything's okay, but you got to sell everything to the fishmonger first and get on your way. And I really was like, yep, I'm not sure what kind of turn this game is going to take, but from what I'm seeing here at the very beginning, I'm going to be into it.
Yeah, I was immediately really enjoying the go get some fish, sell your fish to the fishmonger. Then when the shipwright first shows up, I'm like, okay, now I can start looking into upgrading my boats. And I was like, yes, perfect. This is, yes, just let me get into this loop for a while. And I think the game did a great job of letting you establish that while still using the fog of night and the combination of the panic meter and time and light all as like the main kind of factors that you really don't know what is safe yet early on too, and you really let it build up more in your head that like you're having really relaxing fishing while there's still this creeping dread going on underneath, and it's a really fun combination of feelings. It's a cozy scare.
I think that is like honestly the perfect way to say it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, so I was first introduced to Dredge. As listeners know, I've talked about it before. I love PlayStation Access on YouTube. Go check them out. Well, the redhead girl on that show, Ash, who is the horror junkie of PlayStation Access, just started on
Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah, in fact, when they did a horror episode on their podcast, the PlayStation Access podcast, she always gives people themed nicknames for the episode, and she was like, mine was easy, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And they were like, oh, that's cheating.
Well, too bad she has a bird name for
Rob.
It. Sucks to suck, loser.
Horob. And he was like, no. Horob. That's what I get. Oh, wrong. Anyway, she had brought up Dredge on the podcast, and I was like, wow, she was really enjoying it. And it was this little quaint little fishing game, but something wasn't quite right about it. Then she ended up doing like I'll call it an article piece, but it was like a 15-minute video, whatever you want to call that, a cover piece on Dredge. And it was like why you should play this without giving any spoilers. And I was like, okay, I'm going to snag this. So I went and grabbed it when I was making money. Those were the days. I went and snagged that on Dredge or on Steam and played it some. And I'm like, man, this is kind of fun. And then I did not touch it for a while. So when it came back up this year for the Spooktober, I loaded up my save game and was like, I don't remember what's going on. So I started completely over. And I remember from the first time I played it and to this time, two things jump out to me very, very like soon on. One, like Nate mentioned, when it gets dark, you quickly start to get the feeling that you should not be fucking out there, right? It gets weirder, and the noises you hear start getting weirder. You know, recommend playing this with headphones.
Ooh, can I give away one small mechanic the game does when the panic meter goes up? Because I think it's really cool. Nate, do you mind? I love it that sometimes the game will... There's a hint of this in like one of the messages you see early on. Because one of the things you do when you go around is collect messages in bottles that let you know about some weird stuff that happened about 50 years ago, probably. And one of the things it mentions is like, people talk about how like that rock just appeared out of nowhere. And yes, sometimes that actually does happen where you can only see this rock in your lamp if you have your lamp on and you didn't even otherwise see it. And it probably wasn't there during the daytime? Question mark.
It absolutely wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I'm just saying.
One of my favorite things, sorry, just to keep going on that tangent,
no,
like when it's dark outside, sometimes you'll hear another boat horn go off. And like, so you have a bunch of different options for things you can do. So like I swapped over to my boat horn and honked back at it. Then it honked back. Then I honked 3 times. It honked 3 times. I was like, oh god, this is kind of scary. I'm not sure what happens if you keep doing that, but...
Did you do that near the start
lighthouse? No, it was
further
out. It was like, yeah.
It was out in the deeps? Oh, because I thought what was happening was I was getting echoes of my foghorn, because I even got an achievement that made it implied that. But okay, so it was another ship that was honking, or another thing that was honking back.
And I'll throw this out here too. I'm the one that did not play this on Steam or my PC. I thought this would be a really cozy game to play in bed, so I got it on my Switch, and I'm happy with that decision.
Oh yeah, this game would translate well to the Switch. You know, it's not like you like say Starfield came out on Switch and you were like, I'm gonna play this laying in bed. That might have like set your Switch on fire. Dredge is a beautiful art style, but it's not gonna like bog down your PC. You know.
And while we're on the subject of the art style, one thing I really loved about the art style was there are a lot of NPCs in this game, and they all have this like really neat like weathered fishing village, haggard, something has been going wrong faces. Like, there's just something slightly gaunt and ominous about all of them, and it just really adds to the sort of... The same sort of Atlantic Gothic vibes you get out of, like, H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, things like that, you know?
And that was... that links perfectly into my first impression of this game on both playthroughs, and it's that when you first get to town and you're talking to people, I couldn't help but feel like something was off with almost everyone. Not everyone, but almost everyone. The fishmonger was weird as fuck. The dude you got to deliver stuff to over in Little Marrow is weird as fuck.
Super weird.
The collector, which we'll touch on. Believe me, I got things to say about the collector.
Oh, yeah.
Weird as fuck. You know,
the collector in particular, I feel like, was an H.P. Lovecraft character.
Yeah, 100%.
The collector and the lighthouse keeper, and the mayor all would have been right at home.
Right, they're doing rituals together at night in some weird fire circle. But that achievement for the horn, I got that on accident. So I'm riding through the water. And I don't remember what I was trying to switch to. Maybe it was my crab trap or whatever. But I accidentally switched to the foghorn and hit it. Brrr, and I just hear, come back, and I was like, what the fuck? And I bing, and I got the achievement, and it was like, hear a foghorn echo back to you, or one call back to you. And I was like, oh god, is it a ghost ship? Do I need to worry about a fucking ghost ship now? Oh no, Country Bear Hall has been crushed. And
oh man, I'm so excited though, because you just mentioned crab traps. And can I say, this game, I really enjoyed this about Ultimate Fishing Simulator. I'm not a fishing guy by trade, but I love it when a game gives you so many fishing options. And this game lets you do crab pot fishing, it lets you do rod and reel fishing, it lets you do trawling. Like, it's good.
And let's talk about the fishing mechanics. I really appreciated that different kinds of fish would give you different ways to catch them.
Yeah.
Some of them overlapped, but it wasn't the same mechanic over and over and over. You might go to one where you've got to, stop these balls that are coming. Like, there will be a green spot in the middle of this U, and there'll be green balls coming up, and you got to stop them in the green bar or red bar, whatever it was. And like, that was one of the mechanics. Or the personal one that I liked was the spinning one, where you had to hop back and forth between the
during
two
dredging,
spaces while you were dredging. Yeah, I liked that one a lot.
Yeah. And speaking of dredging, this game's called Dredge, right? So there's a very important mechanic that you get early on in the game called dredging, where you can basically attach a hook out, and go to shipwrecks and things and see what you can pull up. A lot of this stuff is used for upgrading your ship. Like, you can pull up planks of wood, bolts of not cotton, but fabric, cloth.
I kept calling them towels in my head.
Metal pieces and stuff. And then you could use those to upgrade your ship later on. And it also is one of the main mechanics of how you progress the story that we'll get to here in a little bit as well. But I wanted to bring up dredging because I thought, for a game called Dredge, probably should talk about dredging a little bit.
Yeah. And
I wanted to bring up another point about both fishing and dredging, which is, even though the mechanics play out pretty quickly, time passes really quickly.
Especially dredging
too. Especially dredging, yeah. So if you start dredging, you can dredge maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and I don't think there was any real way to upgrade that.
And this is me nitpicking, because obviously this is a video game, so what the fuck does it matter? But I felt like time was too unforgiving while you were just moving. Unless it was scaled. You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like you would go forward a foot and 3 minutes would have passed.
Yeah, and that actually was what the engines really did as well. It's when you upgraded your engine, you could get further with time passing slower. Time would pass slower the more you upgraded your engine in your boat.
Yeah, I prioritized engine upgrades and light upgrades over even getting better actual fishing equipment. Just because I wanted to be able to get in and out of places faster and safer.
Damn, I had something and I forgot what it was. Fishing mechanics.
We have a lot of thoughts about this game. It's interesting too, because we just went back and forth between, here's the kind of scary part, then we're right back to, and here's the fishing, and that's kind of what this game does. Is every sunrise you're like, well, it's fishing time, yeehaw! Yeah.
And some days you decide you want to fish, and some days you decide you want to dredge.
Mm-hmm. Some days you decide you want to push your limits and explore to new areas, especially once you start getting into the main quest.
One thing I appreciated about this game, and I think it might just be a nostalgia purpose for me, but the way the inventory worked, it was Diablo inventory.
It was, yeah.
And I love Diablo inventory. Let me move shit around and make it where I can be like, okay, I'll take these 3 and take them out, because I can put this here, and then I can rearrange this stuff, and now, boom, all my fish fit. Fuck yeah. That is so satisfying to me.
I do love that, and that's one of the things I also really liked about playing games like Grim Dawn, because they had that same system as well.
Yeah.
The one thing that I didn't like about it was, because you could rotate your fish in any direction, because, when we say it's Diablo style, you basically have a grid you can put things on, and some fish are a Tetris shape, basically, and you can move them around. I wish you could have, instead of just rotating them, flipped them. Because there were times where I really wish I could have changed just the direction it was facing.
So many times I had to just, I have to get rid of this fish.
Yep.
There's no way I can fit it in. If it could be mirrored, it would fit perfectly right there. But there's nothing I can do with this combination to make it fit. And yeah, I agree.
But sometimes it was fun playing Tetris with your blocks and seeing if you could find a way to make it happen, you know? It kind of reminded me of Talos principle, the tetromino puzzles, where you could just kept messing with it, and sometimes you managed to get it to work.
The one thing that how do I word this? I really appreciated how there was a good sense of progression.
Mm-hmm.
Because starting off, you can only fish in certain spots. You would go to one part and it'd be like, you don't have the correct equipment for this spot. You need an oceanic rod, or you need a
mangrove rod.
Mangrove rod. Yeah, thank you. Just one of these types of things, and it's like you're like, okay. So then you're left wondering two things. One, how do I get that? And then you go figure that out. But then two, it's like, oh, wonder what kind of fish that is.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time I fished up a fucking hammerhead.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
I took forever to get an oceanic rod. I was strictly fishing coastals and shallows for a very long, like through the first two fifths of the game, basically.
And so one of the things we haven't mentioned yet about this game is when you're fishing, you can be fishing this spot, you're pulling up these blackfin tuna or whatever. And then every once in a while, just rarely, you'll pull up this really fucked up, disgusting looking fish called an aberration, which is basically based off the fish that you caught, but it's a really like messed up version of the fish, and it sells for a lot of money compared, I think it's like double the amount that fish would normally be worth. And like, I remember one I caught, because like I kept catching these sharks, and I caught this one that was like a loose jaw shark, and it's like jaw went all the way back to its dorsal fin, and it was just like freaky looking. And it's just like a lot of cool touches like that. Like every fish had an aberration, every crab had an aberration. It was just like
Craberations and monstrosities. So can I ask you guys what your favorite aberration was? Because I totally had one in mind and was hoping that this would come up. Mine is exactly what I would have come up for this fish. Just take a red snapper, make it way redder, give it freakier eyes, and call it a blood snapper. I loved that thing.
That was a good one.
I was like, perfect.
Let me look up the names of them, because I can picture it in my head. It was one of the sharks.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through them right now just to remind myself.
Honestly, I tended to like the really nasty ones that looked like they were almost dead, and even the text basically was like, we don't even know what's animated or shit. Because there's an entire encyclopedia of all the fish you catch, including the aberration.
Yeah, it's like a Pokedex for your fish. It's really good. I love mechanics like that. Like when there's any kind of bestiary in a game, I'm all about that.
So you can quickly get your fish facts.
But one that I really liked was called the Gazing Shark. And it was an aberration of the hammerhead shark. And its just eyes are out on stalks like a bug. It's all like warped and messed up in the body. It's like a really cool looking aberration.
Oh, I just remembered a really fun eye-themed one too, but it was pretty late in the game. But I still want to say it. There was one called the All-Seeing Cod.
Yeah, that's really good.
The one with the big old eye. Yeah, that thing was awesome.
One huge eye, and it's like, even the text was like, it isn't able to really use this eye. It doesn't know where it came from.
My favorite one, it was called the Bloodskin Shark, and it just looks like a shark with no skin. It's like it's all its muscles showing, and it just looks vicious.
Yeah.
There were a lot of those, like, because there were like a few different kinds of them. Like, some of them looked like stripped down version of animals. Some of them were like, they had weird growths and polyps and stuff. Some of them were like skeletal. Like, there were a ton of different just flavors of these.
So the one that I was mentioning earlier that I said had like its jaw like all messed up back to its dorsal fin, I actually think this one's still my favorite. It was called the cleft mouth shark, and it was an aberration of the black tip reef shark. I'm going to post this in our chat real quick because I just really loved this fish.
Yeah, when you said the other name, I thought you might have been like talking about the loose jaw, which is a basic fish. But yeah, this guy's awesome. Also, I was really surprised that very, 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 very late in the game, I managed to find a regular ass tuna. And I'm like, what the hell? How did I not find tuna?
I was really sad I'm looking at them now because like there's sailfish in the game. It's basically the closest thing I could do to saying I caught me a marlin. And I really wanted to catch the aberration of those, but I never did.
I was about to say I don't know what the aberrated sailfish, because I only caught like 3 sailfish in the entire game.
I'll show them too. I'll put them in our chat. Go away, stupid thing. Hold on, I gotta be a little slower. There we go. There were 2 aberrations for the sailfish.
Did you find like a... Okay, so you found like an online Pokedex of them. Oh, those were... Ooh, yeah, no, I didn't catch either.
Pretty cool.
Wow, I really like the hooky one. Those are both nasty. I love them.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing about this game. It had like a lot of really, really cool things like that. Mechanics, like the aberrations was like one of the most interesting things because it really was one of the things that I feel like hooked you in, made you really feel like you were part of this Lovecraftian world. Because it wasn't all the time, but every once in a while when you caught these aberrations, you were like, oh man, I'm really here.
I kept catching these things. I'm like, that thing is so nasty. I love it.
Because like this is really cool fishing game, in my opinion. Like just all the different things that they add in, and it's like not a small amount of fish in the game. Like just scrolling through the aberrations, there are 151. That's as many Pokemon as there were in Gen 1. 151 aberrations, which does not include the base forms of these fish.
Oh, hot damn.
And I would like to point out that their first DLC is dropping for this game in November called The Pale Reach.
Nice.
I'm about to keep this sucker installed then.
Yeah.
But the variety, it was like I was always catching something and I was like, oh, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling because, some games get very repetitive with what you're getting, especially when you start getting hours and hours and hours and into it. Starfield.
Well, the thing too is there's 4 different ways that the game provides variety with fish. Because there's the aberrations. There's also 5 ways. Sorry, there's 5 different ways that there's fish variety. Because there's the aberrations. There's also some fish are only catchable at night, which means you have to be risking those sanity effects. There's also the fact that there are actually 5 biomes in the game, and so you have to be going out to these different 5 corners of the world. Basically, there's the central area and then one in each of the corners, and then there's the difference between crab potting, trawling, and rotting, and then there's the difference in depths where you need special rods to catch like oceanic depth versus shallow depth versus coastal depth versus
abyssal.
And then like abyssal, hadal. Yeah.
And what is hadal? Is that just another?
All past the abyss down to Hades, baby. It's the deepest.
Deep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but what I'll say is when this game. Like, we've talked a lot about just mechanics of this game so far. Like, the game...
There's really
it's
gameplay
impressive how much this little
simple.
indie game was able to push into one game like this. I'm really impressed by that. But the game really gets going when you meet one character. And that character is named the Collector.
The reason I brought up the 5 different regions was so we could bring up the Collector.
Yeah. And that first little area you're in, the archipelago, if you will, is the Marrows.
Yes.
Yeah, it's by this lighthouse. It's the safest area in the game.
Yeah, Greater Marrow and Little Marrow. And then off to the left, there's I think it's called like Blackstone Isle or something like that. Black Ridge Isle, one of those two. And that's where the Collector tells you to meet him when you fish up a fish. I believe it's the first aberration. The fishmonger asks you for a fish that looks weird.
Yeah.
And you bring it to him, and the fish coughs something up. And then the fishmonger apparently eats that motherfucker and then doesn't remember it. It's weird. This is when you starting to see there's some weird shit going on. The Collector tells you to come meet him, and he gives you the quest basically where you're to go to each of these areas, the 4 other areas, and kind of complete what's going on there and gather the artifacts.
Yeah, so he sends you on this quest for the artifact. And like Willie was mentioning, there's like 5 different biomes / areas of the game. The first one is the Marrows, which is the starting area of the game where we talked about. The second one you go to is called Gale Cliffs. The third is the Stellar Basin. The 4th is the Twisted Strand. And the 5th is the Devil's Spine. And basically you have to do a whole bunch of there's a bunch of side quests, a bunch of things like that going on in this game. But your main objective that you know of at this point is to find each of these artifacts that the Collector is wanting and bring them back to the Collector.
Yeah. And to me, like, there's something weird going on, but it's when you get to the Gale Cliffs and you start doing stuff there that you really know there's some weird shit in this water.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, Nate, I remember you specifically. I was going to ask you because you sent a message to the group chat. You were like, all right, it might have just been to me. You're like, well, my boat just got bit by a giant sea serpent, and I was like, I know exactly where he's at.
Yeah, because that's like the first time, like you in the middle of the day that I remember, and you're at perfectly sanity, that you see something that is really, really off, and there's this just giant sea serpent that will chase you around the Gale Cliffs while you're trying to do your tasks there and find the relic that's there. One of the coolest things about this area is there's a task that you can do where you basically help this guy make amends with his brother, and he moves back in with his brother. And at that point, you can start buying explosives from this retired whaler. And explosives are cool because they'll I don't know how necessary they are in a lot of the other areas, not super, honestly, but they'll let you make shortcuts between areas, which I thought was really cool because you just blow up this wall and then you have an easier open way to go a different way.
Yeah.
They're necessary in one regard, which is I think without explosives, you cannot dredge for refined metal. I think refined metal only appears behind exploded
I believe you.
I think you're right. I honestly didn't care enough, though. I bought most of my refined metals.
I had refined metal left over at the end of the game.
Yeah,
that was the first thing I got all that I needed for when I had my ship fully upgraded.
So going forward and going through, because we don't need to go into major detail about every little quest that you do, but you
yeah, I don't want to spoil the plot either per se, because I feel like the intrigue and the questions it asks are cool. I wanted to point out that there's one plot element we only just barely touched on, which is a lot of you find messages in a bottle. They're parts of a diary that seems to have been held by a newlywed talking about her husband, who seems to be going out of his mind.
Yeah.
And the more you read it, the more you're these people caused this, and I don't know, it gets interesting.
Yeah. So that story builds throughout the game too, as you're finding these notes. This woman seems to be getting more and more frantic about what's going on with her husband. And okay, first and foremost, what else do you guys want to touch on before I go into my theories about the very end? Because I'm going to give it a spoiler warning and tell people to skip if they don't want to know, because I got to talk about it.
Where are we at, Nate?
I know we're in Gale Cliffs, but so I want to cover the rest of it. But when we get to that point, I'm going to give a spoiler warning. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I guess Willie and I said, Willie said, I don't really want to go too deep into all the different areas of the game. I will say that my favorite was probably the fourth area, which was the Twisted Strands.
The mangrove area?
Yeah, the mangrove area. There's a really cool quest there where you are actually helping kill these monsters that have been terrorizing the area. And I just thought that was a really cool sub-story within the main story of the game.
Yeah, I really liked that. The character you meet there, he feels like some kind of Vietnam vet that kind of got shot down or something almost. He kind of gave me some, what was the King Kong Skull Island?
Oh, yeah.
He gave me those vibes to an extent.
And he has this sub quest that you can do too, because this is something we haven't talked about at all. You get research parts in the game in order to unlock the next levels of fishing poles and everything like that. And you can go and find his downed comrades' dog tags and bring them back to him. And every time you do, he'll give you a research part so you can research your materials faster too.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun side quests where that becomes a reward. The traveling merchant will give you those for finding super exotic fish, like two of the fish we mentioned in the Patreon.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that I was not opposed to doing the side quests. I might reinstall it and go back and play it a little more to do some more.
I basically nearly 100%.
Yeah, Willie went crazy.
Unless there's a lot of post-game stuff that I didn't know about. I got really into finding the hooded figures and wanted to do every mission for them, for instance.
And as far as I know, there's two endings to the game. I've saw both of them. There might be more that I don't know about and haven't seen, but we're going to discuss these when we get to the spoiler territory, where we're going to tell you to skip ahead until X time.
Yeah. But leading up to that, if I had to pick a favorite area, I didn't like the cliffs very much. That was one of my least favorite areas.
I liked the cliffs because it's when it started to get weird and stressful.
That last area is a pain in my ass because of those little
Yeah, I hate those guys, dude.
Fish. Yeah, oh my goodness.
It took me way too long to figure out what the puzzle for those things was.
But
Like, I had to go back and reread some text.
I will say that as you bring the relics back to the collector, the story gets deeper and deeper, but he also gives you special abilities as you take the relics back to him. The first one you get, it's just really cool. It's called Haste, which makes your ship go a hell of a lot faster. But if you hold it too long, it builds insanity and your ship starts to break. So like you have to repair your ship right. And it can be really, really stressful and scary if like you're trying to haste back to a port so you can rest because it's getting late and you do it too much and your engine blows out.
Yeah. And then you're fucked. You're like, oh no.
Trying to balance whether I wanted to use haste against the thing in the Gale Cliffs was a very fun part of mechanic management, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's one that I wanted to bring up that I used a bit, especially in that last area, which was, I think, called Banish, which if you used that one, it would like break your sanity meter quite a bit, but it would make all of those environmental hazards, like those little fish, away. Yeah. So I used that a bit to help me get to where I needed to get to in that area.
Yeah. The one power that I think I utilized the most was the one that warped me back to Blackstone Isle.
Manifest.
Because it was like I'd be off doing something and I need to go clear my inventory. So I'd warp back there, pop over to Little Marrow and do my stuff. Even though I could go around this island and find the little buoy that had the sailor on it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, meh. I
genuinely didn't use Manifest one time until I got to the last area of the game. Really?
It was super helpful for me. But yeah, man. I just... This game's so fun. I really enjoyed this game a lot. So you guys want to kind of like, you want to discuss what we think about the story?
Yeah, we do the plot. Give it about 5 minutes.
So
for
yeah,
plot.
if you skip ahead 5-10 minutes if you don't want spoilers. So as you're doing things for this collector guy, he's got this book, and when you bring him the artifacts, like Nate said, like he gives you these powers. He's like casting these spells from this book, and you can ask him like, "What are you doing?" And he pretty much just tells you, "Don't worry about it." Like he's got this way to help you out. It's a beneficial thing. Well, as you're going through the game, you kind of put it together through these letters and talking to other people. And in fact, it's in the Devil's Spine area where you come across this guy who's just at this little port, and he freaks out when he sees you. And he tells you that he's the old mayor and that you shouldn't be alive. And he knows what you've done and you need to right the wrongs, go get the book from the collector and throw it back from whence it came.
Throw it back.
The lighthouse keeper can tell you where.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where your ending splits.
Yeah, this is where you have the last relic. You haven't taken it to the collector yet, and you can make your decision there. And when you talk to this guy, like, you start to figure things out here, and you can go back to the collector and ask him who you really are. Because if you're a student, you've been reading these messages, you're starting to put it together that maybe you are the collector.
Yeah.
I guess completely wrong. I thought I was the old mayor until we met the old mayor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't have any guesses up until the very end where I was like, I feel like this is me.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like this is like a weird mental break that my guy's having because of everything that's happened.
Yeah. And so then you go back to Blackstone Isle and you can make that decision if you want to go to Blackstone Isle or if you want to go to the Lighthouse Keeper. So the first ending I got was I went back to Blackstone Isle and talked to the collector, and he's like, who are you really? And you like, it keeps going through all these text options, and eventually you go to punch him and you punch through a mirror.
Oh man. Yeah. That's so cool. That's such a cool little thing because I didn't go that route, so I never saw that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that...
I didn't even realize that he was carrying the book that you were supposed to throw back until you had that dialogue. I didn't know that was the book, which is the one he was using to give you the abilities and getting the relic names out of. I didn't catch on to that until I went back and had that confrontation with him.
And so, if you choose just to keep following the collector, you can give him the final piece of the relic, right? And he's like, great, now we have every piece of the relic. Please bring me aboard your ship, and we will take these relics and throw them back to the sea and make this thing happen. And so he leads you to this spot in the middle of the sea, right? and you start throwing all the relics back in, and then everything goes still. Then the sea starts bubbling and shaking, and this woman starts floating out of the sea, and you do get the wife back, essentially. And then as that happens...
Yeah, as she's floating down.
Cthulhu.
They embrace, and the camera's panning up, and you see this giant fucking beast raising out of the water. And it's very clearly Cthulhu after like 2 seconds when its tentacles of its face start coming out. You're like, oh shit. And the game cuts to black.
And then when it pans back to the credits, the cities are all on fire. Everything that you were at was on fire. It's like basically you caused the end of the world by bringing this woman back. Because as you play this game, I think you also start to realize that those messages in the bottle are coming from your dead wife.
Yeah, about you.
Yeah, about you.
And
so this is a loop. This is your last chance to break it.
And even when you find the last letter from her, it's like, you know what you have to do, throw me back.
Yeah.
And no, he takes it and he accepts that, like, yeah, he brought his wife back and they're going to be together for however long the world still exists.
Yeah.
So it's like this really fucked up. Again, that's where it gets like where it's proven to be Lovecraftian. Like, you might be thinking that this whole game's kind of got that vibe to it, but when literally Cthulhu comes raising out of the fucking ocean at that end, that's when it's like, oh, okay, so the vibes were correct. Yeah, this is exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And arguably, that's the bad ending and the better of the two endings.
Yeah, because that isn't the ending. That isn't the ending.
See, that was the first ending I got. Then I got the second ending, which Willie got. And since Willie, you've experienced it most recently, why don't you kind of tell us about that second ending?
Yeah.
So this one's a lot more melancholy. You go back to the lighthouse keeper, and she says, it's time while you still have your sanity. You know who you are. You know what you must do. I will point the lighthouse at the spot you need to go to. Take it there. Throw it back. And you do. And there's just calm and quiet and emptiness, and it just slowly pans out. And then a massive Leviathan just swallows you and your ship whole, and it zooms back and just shows all the cities on Marrow Islands just normal looking again without the big fog on top of them.
Yeah. So both endings aren't really great, but like one of them is obviously better for the world, and that's not causing Cthulhu to return and destroy the world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you have bittersweet ending and Raiden have a nice day ending.
So, my question to you guys is, after playing this, do you guys also really hope that Bit Golem still comes out with Tales from Herring Lake?
I don't care anymore because this took its place to me.
Fair.
That's funny because earlier today when I was talking about, I said something along the lines of, I don't remember if I said this on the Patreon, if I just said this in a message to Nate or whatever, but I said something about there are like a couple of aquatic horror games I want us to be able to get to, because I think that at this point aquatic horror has become such a fun thing that we should probably make that an annual theme too. Because we did Dagon last year, we did this. So I was thinking Herring Lake. I would love Herring Lake to come out, but if it doesn't, I would absolutely not be opposed to doing Subnautica or Iron Lung.
Subnautica was the one that jumped in my mind.
Yeah, Subnautica is one that I've gone back and forth about a host pick for quite a while now.
Yeah. And then Iron Lung is a pretty short indie horror game by the same guy that developed Dust.
Oh, yeah. I remember
it's being made into a movie.
I remember you mentioning that, how it sold like crazy the day after Ocean Gate happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be Soma.
Okay, I didn't even think of that one. That's a good pick, too.
Who did Amnesia, The Dark Descent.
Okay. Also, fun fact, the person that's making Iron Lung into a movie is fucking Markiplier. Okay. I know, I think it's his feature directing debut, but he did a few interactive movies on YouTube recently. So it's
he's
like
one of those few YouTube guys
stuff
that has been around for a long time that I still have a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I figure if he's been around doing his shit at this level of popularity for this long and nothing terrible has come out about him, he's probably clean.
Yeah, I like Markiplier. He's not bad. I'll watch him in some Let's Plays.
Yeah.
He doesn't like, he'll like scream and yell, but it's never over the top like some other YouTubers would do, like PewDie, whatever.
PewDiePie,
yeah.
Yeah, before...
I don't know. I want to call him PewDiePie.
Before we wrap up on this episode and things, too, one thing I wanted to bring up is, like, we mentioned this in the O-dubs, but, like, this was published by, at least, Team 17. And Team 17 is a really cool studio that we've actually done some games for the show about that you may not know. But I want to just throw out that some of the cool things that they've been responsible for a little bit.
Yeah, please.
They were the guys that published Yooka-Laylee and Yooka-Laylee's sequel, which I thought was really cool. They published Yoku's Island Express.
I won't hold that against
I won't hold that against them, but...
I thought I'd seen the logo before, at least.
Blasphemous.
I didn't know where I knew them from.
They did Neon Arby's and Neon Abyss. Going Under, which is a game that I've gotten from like one of my free things that looks really cool that I want to play. One that we've all played together before, Rogue Heroes Ruins of Tassos.
Oh, that one was really fun. We played that like for one day, had a great time, and then just never went back to it for no obvious reason.
And then some other ones they've done has been like Honey, I Joined a Cult.
I am interested in Blasphemous very much, by the way. I think that would be extremely your shit, Nate.
They did Moving Out.
Yeah, they also did Moving Out. That's the other one I was going to bring up.
Oh, and they did
nice.
Golf with Your Friends.
They did Golf with Your... Yeah, they did. You're right.
Or they published.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about Team 17 is that like they're a really cool publisher, but they used to be a developer.
Mm-hmm. Worms.
In fact, they still are a developer now that I'm looking at it. But yeah, they developed Worms.
Like, all the Worms games are Team 17 originals. Yeah. So like
there's so many Worms games in this list. Holy shit.
So like Team 17, I just wanted to shout them out as like a publisher that when I see, I generally have positive thoughts on. So when I see a Team 17 game, I'm like, yeah, I'm down to play this. Yeah,
and I love when the producer's name is like a mark of quality in an indie title, because that's how I feel about Devolver Digital as well. And so, like, you know, all of these games, even the ones I didn't love that you listed, are all games that at least had really cool concepts behind them. Like, they went on a limb and published some interesting
that's why,
games.
Like, I don't think Yooka-Laylee is necessarily the best, but I think they did something that didn't needed to be done for a long time, which was make a new Banjo-Kazooie type game.
Yeah.
And while we didn't love Yoku's Island Express, at least it tried something different.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, I have warm feelings about those games, even if I don't think I would want to go in and play them. I mean, we did play Yoku, and I had a good time for a while.
Outlive is welcome.
I really want to try to try out one day that Honey, I Joined a Cult.
Yeah.
That game seems so
It does seem really neat.
I don't really know anything about that one.
It's like a management building sim, but you're trying to make it a cult. Think Prison Architect, but with religion.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. Isn't there a game called Cultist Simulator? Is that kind of like that?
I have Cultist Simulator. I think that's more of like a card-based thing, but yeah, it's similar.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. After all, there's a game called Surgery Simulator, and most people would agree that it's not much of a simulation of surgery.
Goat Simulator. And that is a very accurate simulator of being a goat.
It's at least it's the accurate simulation of the vibes.
What's going on in a goat's mind, probably.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the first game that Black Salt Games has done. I only say that because they do not have a wiki page. Their name is just white text.
No. Yeah, I'd never heard of them before now, too. And I didn't even realize they were a New Zealand-based studio until we got to the credits and saw all those, like, credits from, like, New Zealand-based coding camps and, like, grants from New Zealand about the area and stuff. And I'm like, was this game supposed to take place in New Zealand? Oh, no, they're from there. Okay. Because I got big Atlantic, like, somewhere between, like, Nova Scotia and Boston vibes when I was playing.
I had to bring this up because of New Zealand, right? So there's a show that's on in a lot of countries that have different casts in each country, but, like, the New Zealand cast, every time I get a clip from them on TikTok, is the most funny thing I've ever seen. There's a show called Taskmaster. So watch some
I did not know they had a New Zealand version.
It's freaking hilarious.
Dude, I have never actually watched more than one or two full episodes of. I think the original one's the British one, but holy crap, they have so many of like hilarious, like people I just know from panel shows, and it just
the New
show
Zealand
is so wild,
is amazing. Sorry, that's a derail, but I just needed to throw that out there.
No, that's a good derail. I didn't realize Taskmaster was an international franchise until now. Now I've got to look into New Zealand Taskmaster.
I want to read you guys a little excerpt from the Wikipedia real quick before we get into ratings, the development and the reception. It says Dredge started development in 2020. The team was inspired by other games with oppressive atmospheres like Papers, Please and Frostpunk.
Hey, Frostpunk's back.
I think I got that free on Epic.
Yeah.
Fog was used as an artistic tool to contrast the day, which is almost completely clear, to the night, where the player can barely see in front of themselves. A developer described the process of creating the game's mutant fish, saying that they were just coming up with the craziest adjectives to describe these messed up fish as possible.
Nice.
That is very accurate, because they'll just be like, this is skeleton fish. This is nasty. I mean, nasty is a word you can describe about half.
Yeah.
I love the aberration so much. I have a lot of really positive feelings about this game. I'm sorry.
So, May 2023, Black Salt Games announced a number of future updates to the game, including boat customization.
Which we got. That was in the game.
I got a pirate. I found a pirate flag, and I had a pirate flag on my ship the whole game.
I think I found every flag.
I found a few flags, but I used the Ouroboros flag.
I used the Ouroboros flag the whole time, too!
And I did paint the roof of my ship green.
Nice.
I did not unlock the line.
I didn't unlock a lot of the colors. I just used one of the ones that he just straight up had, but it was I used blue.
Most of the colors look like you needed to find aberration crabs.
Yeah, I will say crabbing was my least favorite method of fishing in the game.
Yeah,
crabbing was more like, just set it and forget it, but less set it and forget it than trawling. So
they sat there for a long time before I picked them up.
Yeah. I will put this out there because I told Willie this earlier. Pro tip to anybody who plays this: when you get to the Devil's Spine and you go up to the little buoy area where you can sell your stuff, drop a couple crab pots right there, because you're going to need crabs for a part on that, and the part that needs crabs is right around the corner from there.
Yeah.
So it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier.
But I didn't do that part because I didn't get the 5th relic.
Fair enough.
I got one of the Sacred Flames, or whatever they were called.
So, a boat customization, a photo mode, which I believe they added. I didn't use. I don't know.
I don't need it. I'd like to see what that was about.
I did get it because they talked about a character called the Photographer a bunch, and I was like very late in the game. I'm like, I didn't find her, and so I went looking for her, and I did find her. And she tells you about basically all she does is say like, "Hey, here's where you could go if you wanted to take pictures of mammals. Here's where you go if you want to take pictures of reptiles." So it's like telling you where like turtles might be found, where sharks or whales.
I will say I did love seeing all the different animals that you can't fish for, that just swimming around. I did see a sea turtle, and I was like, "Love this game."
You probably saw a crocodile in the mangrove area too. All of those were just for the photography.
Okay.
I thought it was another freaking scare. I didn't know what to do with it when I saw a crocodile. I'm like, no, thank you.
So another update was a passive mode that makes hostile creatures no longer aggressive, allowing for less stressful gameplay.
That's cute. I like that.
I saw that in the options, and I just didn't. I obviously wanted to play the game scared.
And a paid DLC expansion, which I don't think I have.
I think I do have it. I don't remember what it did, though.
Revolving around the mysterious Ironhaven Corporation.
I didn't see that. I might have to go look back and look.
That doesn't sound like anything I've
And it says an additional DLC expansion containing a new polar biome was announced in October of 2023, which that's the new one that's coming out next month.
I bet that DLC is what unlocks the workshop on Blackstone Island. Because it's called Blackstone Key, I've just realized. So that must be what that's all about.
The Ironhaven Corporation. Interesting.
All right.
But yeah, so the reception for this game, Dredge received generally favorable reviews. Eurogamer felt that the course of the game did not evolve much, while also criticizing the player's ability to upgrade their ships to make challenges trivial. Which I think that doesn't make any sense.
No,
right?
that's the reward for upgrading your ship. It makes things easier. Come on now.
Yeah. Nintendo Life, praised the night sections, writing the story relentlessly sends you out of your comfort zone among treacherous cliffs or bobbing vulnerability atop sickeningly deep dark water. And then Games Radar disliked the late game progression, but really enjoyed the sound design. The minor piano trills that cut through when you pull into one of these nightmares is enough to send a shiver down your spine on even the game's most idyllic seeming days. So I would agree with those.
Yeah.
and it is up for a Golden Joystick Award for Best Indie Game.
Deserved.
Yeah, I think it has a chance of winning that. I don't know what it would be up against, but get a deal. I
guess. Well, I'm sorry, I just had a little blink up. What was the category?
Oh, no, I was saying I was just going through the reception where Eurogamer thought that upgrading your ship made the game trivial, which me and Nate talked about being stupid. And then it was praised by some other places, but it is up for a Golden Joystick Award this year for Best Indie Game.
I did look at the game's radar review, and I do kind of agree that towards the very end of the game, maybe it gets a little less scary because you got all this stuff. But I think at that point, you're also supposed to feel like you're about to beat everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Trivialize is a way too strong word for it.
So
it just feels like the logical conclusion of where you've been going, upgrading stuff. Like you feel like you succeeded in upgrading.
I made this easier on myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Through dredging and hard work. Alaskan fishing, whatever the fuck that show is. I don't remember the Deadliest Catch. That's how you go.
Ice Road
Alaskan
Fishers.
Nightmare. Ice Road Fishers. Yeah. The dangerous part about this is we just dig our holes for fishing right in the road. So if they don't see us, we're fucked. It's dangerous. Watch every night on A&E and find us on the History Channel too, because why the fuck not?
Because we're about to be history.
So, what would you, let's give Dredge a rating, my good sirs.
That was a really good Alaskan accent.
Thank you. I figure they're probably implants,
Implants?
Imports, whatever.
Transplants.
Imported implants.
Half transplants.
All right, let's rate this game.
Yeah. I've been having trouble figuring out what scale I want to rate this game on. That scale wasn't a fish
damn,
joke,
I was about to say, hey, fish joke.
Fish facts.
No fish facts. Because, I really liked it. I'm trying to figure out what the ceiling for it is, because I feel like it gets pretty close to whatever the ceiling for what it was attempting is.
I can start if you want me to. Yeah, so...
Go ahead. I have a feeling I have a very similar number.
I have
to what you do.
and am rating games harsher than I used to, and I want to put that out there before I give this game its score. This game did pretty much everything I wanted it to. It gave me an adequate amount of spooks. It gave me a more fun fishing game than I've played in a really long time. The fishing is superb. I love everything about it. All the other mechanics are swell as well. I love this art style, of the sound design. Everything worked for me. I'm giving this game an 8.5 cleft mouth sharks out of 10 black tip reef sharks.
All right.
Wow.
And Willie, were you thinking a similar number?
Actually, Nate shot way above where I thought he was going with that. I want to say I absolutely adored everything about the vibes of this game. The upgrading system's awesome. I do have one major complaint, which I haven't levied through the course of this episode because I didn't want to prejudice anyone else's answers, though. And that is, at its heart, you have to get into the vibes. You absolutely must, because the one thing is, this is Fetch Quest the game.
Yeah.
You do spend a lot of time finding something somewhere and bringing it back to someone else. And as long as that doesn't bother you, that's fine. And as long as you can enjoy it for what it is and do it because you want to get the next upgrade or get what you want to help this character. Because I loved the Welling brothers. Reuniting them made me feel really happy because, family and shit's all important to me and all that. So, I really liked it. Oh, thank you. So I ultimately, I thought Nathan was going to give it a 7.5 and I was going to give it an 8. So I'm going to give it an 8 anyway. I'm going to say it's a 8 panic out of 10 Leviathans.
So again, I'm also trying to be harsher with my ratings because ever since Nate brought that up, it was just such a good point where it was man, we've given some games some really high ratings that didn't deserve to be that high. So when I went into this, again, I don't mind fetch quests, right? There were little things in this game that made you feel better, like reuniting this brother, finding that dog and taking the dog to the researcher and telling her.
Yes.
Did we all take the dog to the researcher?
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was another option, but that is absolutely what I did too.
I don't know if there is either, but I was just like, do you want this dog? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, cool. But let me say this game does not overstay its welcome. and I think it would have been easy for it to overstay its welcome had they tried to cram too much into it.
If this game is 5 hours longer, I give it like 2 points less.
That's fair.
But as you said, this type of game, this game has a ceiling. Unless you're just someone who just absolutely like you would get this game tattooed on you. So I would agree. I am going to give it an 8.
Worthy.
I'm going to give it 8 Cthulhu's out of 10 Leviathans.
Worthy.
And it is definitely like all of us are giving it an 8 at this point. Like it's worth checking out. You know, Nate giving it at the 8.5.
Yeah. Like I really think this game.
I will say I think I'm rating
it is. I think it hit the ceiling, and the ceiling is an 8.5 for me.
The wild thing is, I think I'm rating it more as an indie fishing game with cool horror vibes than I am as a horror game.
Yeah.
And as such, I really enjoyed it. I just don't. That still has an 8 ceiling to me, I think.
Yeah. All right.
Hell yeah.
Game whips ass though. I mean, if you can get it for any kind of reasonable price,
just I don't even think like full price is.
It's $25 full price.
Yeah.
I got it on sale with the DLC for $22, I think.
I can see someone whining that it's a little short for $25, but I don't. Yeah,
y'all want to move into?
But it's definitely one of those games that if it ever goes on the Game Pass or whatever, just play it. Just get it. It's like short hike in that regard. If you have Game Pass,
and I want to say between
shit.
my 2 playthroughs of it, I'm at 18 hours. So I mean that's not bad.
No.
So
no. All right, want to move into questions?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
our first one comes in from our good buddy Team Retrogue. Check him out on YouTube. In this scenario, choose a box to play. There's boxes of video games. You're going to be isolated for a few months, but are allowed to bring these boxes for entertainment. These games are all you can play. Which box do you choose? Box A is Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy 13, and what's the last one?
Dissidia
12. Okay.
Dissidia 12.
The second box is Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy 15, and...
Type 0.
Okay. The next box C is Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy's at 12? 12. Is that the one I think it is?
It's the remake of 1, yeah. Chaos.
I'm gonna kill Chaos.
Yeah.
And the box D is Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy Tactics. So which box would you boys take?
I was about to say this is easy, but I'm torn between 2
Oh, it's
choices.
super easy for me.
Yeah. I actually keep bouncing back and forth between these because I honestly think box B is probably the one I would have the most long time fun with because I love 5 and 9 or 4 and 9, and I think 15 is just one I've really been meaning to get around to forever. But C, I mean, 5 and 10 playing with the jobs and customization and all that, and I think Stranger in Paradise would be pretty funny in its own way. Point. And then D has 6, 8, and Tactics, which I don't even know anything about 16 really, except it was the one that had like the really cool summon stuff. But that's still pretty tough. There's like not any wrong answers on there. I think I'm going to go with C. So 5, 10, 12, and Stranger in Paradise. Because I never got around to 12. I don't know if I'd like it or hate it. I think it could go either way. And then Stranger of Paradise is going to be...
So 15th one with the car road trip kind of thing, right? Yeah. So box B hits it for me because I love 4 and 9. Like, I want to play 9 again. It's been several years, maybe even a decade since I last played 9. But I love Phoebe. I love Steiner. Like, those guys are awesome. So I don't know much about that last game in that pack, but B is where it's at for me.
I honestly, B is the one I immediately gravitated to the hardest too, and I think it would probably be my actual objective best choice. But C just has a little bit more time for me to experiment, I think.
So the ones that I'm torn between are C and D.
Like D because A.
I know
that's your best game.
Yeah, I know Final Fantasy VIII is good. Final Fantasy VI is all right. I don't particularly care for it, but it's all right.
Yeah.
I've never played 16, and I've never played Tactics.
The thing is, if you end up getting into Tactics, you could spend 400 hours.
But the problem for me in that box is I hate Tactics.
But then you have C. I know Final Fantasy X is arguably the best Final Fantasy game there is.
Arguably by people that are willing to make a very difficult argument.
Yeah. Final Fantasy XII, I really enjoy. It's different, but I really, really like that game. I've never played 5, and I've never played Stranger of Paradise.
5, if you like job systems, 5 is your shit.
I do love job systems.
It's basically the perfection of the
I think
job
C is
system
my second choice, even though I do love 8 so much. But like,
so I think me and Nate went with BC versus CB.
And I think if it comes down to it, because of how much I love the games, and I know the time that I could put into both of them, and I'd have 2 experiences that I've never had before, I'd probably go C as well.
All right. Good choices, everybody. All right, next question is from Fenris to Steam Machine Dalton specifically. What is your favorite sour candy, and are you constantly disappointed how not sour enough sour candy has become?
Okay.
I think we can.
Can we all roundtable on this one? I know it says to Dalton, but I think we all have ideas about sour candy.
So it depends on what mood I am in. I have 2 favorites. I love Sour Patch Kids, but here lately, dude, Mike and Ike sours are the fucking bomb.
Huh.
They are actually pretty fucking sour.
Need to give that a taste.
See, and I used to love Warheads when I was a kid, but I swear they are not as sour as they used to be.
They're not. I believe they got in trouble because they were damaging people's mouths.
I love that damage.
I mean, you did get a bit of a burning flavor on them, especially. You know, the weirdest thing is I remember thinking that the green apple was by far the sourest. Like, that one puckered you like no other.
One for me. That dark pack.
Ooh. Real.
But sour, for me now, I like those sour gummy worms, that I can really get down with gummy worms.
I also want to give a shout to Sour Skittles.
Yeah.
Like, Sour Skittles are pretty good, although they fuck my teeth all up. But as far as...
You guys...
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, you guys basically name-dropped every brand I was going to, because I was thinking of the Sour Straws, I was thinking of Sour Patch Kids, and I was thinking of Warheads. But one thing is, have you had the Sour Patch Kids Extreme? Because they kind of hit that almost Warheads level of flavor.
See, to me, Sour Patch Heads Extremes are not sour enough. Yeah, I don't know if it's just the bags of all of it shakes off by the time they get down here to Florida or what, but I'm not, those are the ones I buy, though, because they are far superior to the regular Sour Patch Kids. Like, I remember when I bought the Sour Patch Peach, they were all peach pieces. I was disappointed because I looked at the sour meter that they have on their bags now, and it was like little to none. And I was like, damn it, I wanted sour peach.
Now these are just Patch Kids.
But as far as how do we feel about candy being not sour enough these days? Yes, I agree. That's why I like the Sour Mike and Ike's. They make me make faces.
On the other hand, I bet there's got to be a country out there that's making like some candy you could import that like completely blows your taste buds off still. I just don't know who it is.
If I can find it, there's a Good Mythical Morning episode where Rhett and Link try to find the most sour candy.
Okay,
and
that sounds awesome. There's also one where they try to find the
spiciest candy. Maybe I'll post them both. They're hilarious.
Because I guarantee there's got to be somewhere in like Southeast Asia, some like Thai or Vietnamese place or something that makes this candy that just basically makes your
I want to say
melt.
that they said that the most sour thing that they've ever eaten is an umabashi plum. It's this little orange looking fruit, and you bite it. I watched Rhett and Link eat it, you know what I mean? And Rhett bites into it, and he just starts drooling, and his jaw is locked. And he's like,
You know, that's what we should bring that back though, because we have the machismo about bitter flavors with all the IPA people today. We have the machismo about spicy flavors with all the fancy peppers. Where's the tough guy sour foods? I haven't seen that since middle school. We need to bring tough guy sour
speaking
stuff
of middle
back.
school, dude, when I was in middle school, this most sour thing I've ever eaten. It was Shock Tart gum. It was a gum ball, and in the middle was just full of that, what is it, salicylic acid? Whatever that is, citric acid, whatever it is that makes the candy sour.
I would hope it's citric acid, not salicylic acid, because that's like a skin cell removal.
No, there's a...
That's like a medicine they use for like acne and eczema and stuff.
There's a word for it that I can't think of, but the specific type of acid that they use, and
hydrochloric.
I bit into this gumball, and again, just like Rhett, my jaw locked, and I just was drooling uncontrollably into the sink. My buddy took the gum out of his mouth and washed it off, and then chewed the gum. I was like, "You pussy!" while I'm over here dying.
Nice.
But yeah. So yeah, I agree. But give Sour Mike and Eggs a shot, dude. They're good. Eat a handful of those and see if you don't make a face.
I'm gonna give that a shot too. Thank you.
So next one from Kana. Also, speaking of warheads, remember when they had a hot candy? What's your favorite spicy food?
Oh, I didn't look down far enough to presage.
We got
we only had like 2 questions.
Recording.
You had Cassie now.
Yeah, so as far as spicy food goes, I'm not big on like the cinnamon spicy, right? So spicy candy's never really been my big thing. What I like in spicy food, I just like to pour a shit ton of hot sauce into chili and call it a day. That is me. Like habanero hot sauce. Like there's one by this Iguana XXX. That's what I love. That's what I get.
Yeah, I've been doing this Jamaican Scotch bonnet hot sauce recently. That's quite tasty.
Yeah.
It says it's Walker's Wood brand. I just like to pick up the stronger hot sauce that they have at like Troger off the shelf, you know? Get that, and get like some sriracha.
I will say like one of my favorite flavors is mango habanero. Like those two flavors complement each other so freaking well.
Mm-hmm.
I
fully agreed.
I pop over to St. Augustine now and then and hit the hot sauce shop that's over there, and I still have some of that garlic Reaper sauce. Oh, it's so good. My favorite spicy food. It's a toss up, man, because I love just some tacos with some hot sauce on it, but I also love a slice of pizza with a bunch of crushed red pepper on it.
Yeah, dude.
Like, give me heartburn all day.
I love like, every time I have something with marinara sauce or any kind of red sauce, crushed red peppers.
Crushed red pepper all over.
I extrude the Parmesan to give me the red pepper.
And the crushed red pepper can be deceivingly hot.
Especially if it's fresh.
There's sometimes you get it and you're like, that's not bad.
You ever get that where you bite into it and then a little of it goes up your nose and you're completely lost all of a sudden?
You can't function.
Yep.
That's good stuff because there's RNG. It's amazing. My favorite spicy food is buffalo wings. You probably know this, Kana, because I think we've talked about BW3 sauces before in detail.
All right.
And as Nathan said, mango habanero, that's a great combination. I think 3 of my favorite spicy combinations are spicy with slightly sweet, like mango habanero, spicy with citrus, like a lime chili type flavor, or spicy with garlic, like Dalton said.
Good stuff. Dude. Right. Next one is from Jeff. What is your favorite fall activity?
Guys.
Fall guys. I got
the joke is fall good.
So my favorite in this...
Okay. Well, I thought he might have just sounded like
works too.
So I thought.
But my favorite activity, and honestly, this is going to sound really lame and basic, but like I like to try as many different brands pumpkin spice coffees as I can. I'm a big fan. I've tried at least 4 this season. One from Lassiter's Coffee, one from Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and Dutch Brothers. So far, Dunkin' still remains the king for me.
I was just about to ask how's Dunkin', because that's the only one I have in my town is Dunkin'.
I love Dunkin'. Dunkin' just has been the king for me for several years now.
I'm gonna have to go get me an iced coffee and some donuts tomorrow.
I really thought you were going to say hiking or observing the fall foliage, because I know you're kind of the
that too. I'm definitely going for a lot more hikes now that the weather has cooled off significantly, so that's been really nice as well. But like as far as things...
I know you've been going on hikes because you've been telling me you're catching up on podcasts. You're finally telling me about like what's going on at the Adventure Zone now, and I'm like, oh, he only listens to that show when he hikes, so he must be hiking again.
I'm definitely enjoying the weather lately.
I really like just building a bonfire in my backyard and sitting out there with my guitar.
That's good shit.
Playing music, even if no one's out there with me, I don't give a fuck.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of Nathan's. I'm really enjoying fall foods. I think the moment the first cold snap comes, that's when you want to get the big old pot out and get your chili on.
Some Super Toscana.
I haven't really got any of the season's like fall beers, so I couldn't tell you what's going on, but I do like a couple of Oktoberfests and pumpkin spice beers too. I have tried someone's Oktoberfest here and I already forgot whose. It was a new one to me and I completely blanked on it. But, you know, I tend to go to a lot of...
Fair enough.
That sentence just died in my mouth. I had nowhere to go with it.
Dude, I need to make some chili. It's about that time.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. And I guess our last question then comes in from Kana. And I feel like we've kind of answered this one before, so I don't want to go into big detail on it. What are your thoughts on Kickstarter as a pre-order? How many times have you been burned on it? I've never been burned on it because I never give to Kickstarters, because I feel like, especially now, there's being used by companies that don't need Kickstarters, that already have money, that are just trying to get people to pay for their development and not do the development themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would be willing to throw money at people that like are doing something completely new that they've never done before. But we've seen so many fucking disasters down. There've been so many heartbreakers that it's just, the moment I see like $2 million raised for, I'm like, uh-oh. That being said, I really do always monitor like the Rift Tracks Live Kickstarters whenever those come up, because I'm like, oh, I really hope they get to do a bunch of movies.
Because like,
this
the one thing that bothers me too is like game studios that I know have made other successful games that are still using Kickstarter. Like Messenger was a very successful game, and then they still kickstarted Sea of Stars, which kind of bothers me. Like, I'm still playing Sea of Stars and I'm still excited about it, but I don't think that's the avenue that they deserved to use for that game.
Yeah. And to me, like you said, they've got something that they already made a bunch of money off the Messenger. Whereas like the guys who are making Yuden Chronicles, like they're old developers that used to work on like Suikoden and stuff, but they don't have a studio. They just put together this studio. So now it's like they're getting Kickstart to help with this. Now, if they were to do a second game and Kickstarted that, I would have an issue.
But I'm always so skeptical if we brought a bunch of developers from other games and they're trying to do a new thing, because that's also what happened with Yooka-Laylee. That's what happened with Mighty Number 9. There have been a bunch of disaster stories from, I would say Bloodstain, but Bloodstain was a mixed bag. I think a lot of people would agree that the 8-bit games ended up being really awesome, even though those were the rewards.
And there are people who argue say they think Bloodstain was good, but I'm going to forever sit on the throne that game sucks.
I liked Yooka-Laylee.
I did too, but I can see why people didn't.
I wouldn't go so far as to say I think Bloodstain sucked. It just didn't suck me in. I kept, the whole time I was playing it, like, the whole time, I mean, like, the whole hour or so I played it, I'm like, I could be playing Aria of Sorrow again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whereas, like, the 8-bit ones, on the other hand, I'm like, wow, this is just, like, more Castlevania 3. This is great. I love having more Castlevania 3. And, like, I didn't get the worst Castlevania 3 vibe, which is what I got from the main game.
Word up. Well, then that just leaves house cleaning and our next game, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, up next, the game that we are playing for this week, and we will be back next week because Spooktober is weekly.
Monthly.
It's monthly. We'll talk to you again in 4 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be Faith, the Unholy Trinity. If you do not have the game, but you would like to know about it before we talk about it, I recommend there are 2 YouTube channels that have covered it that I love. One is Wendigoon. Wendigoon does like a 4.5 hour video on it. That's like a breakdown of everything that happens, all the backstory. You will know everything that's going on in the game if you watch that.
We want them to still listen to our podcast. Do you have a less thorough?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to listen to us too. But right, listeners? Right. Okay.
I wouldn't.
There's that.
I don't even like these assholes.
But then there's also this other, and it's spelled FLAW space PEACOCK. So Flaw Peacock.
Oh.
Right? And you watch his video on it. I was surprised. Going into it with someone who had a pun name like Flaw Peacock, I was like, this is going to be dumb. Dude is actually really well read, and he does a good job. And he's got a 3-part series that 2 parts are out right now. Each about an hour. So I would recommend to check those out. And then come back. Like I said, that's only if you can't play it. If you can play it for yourself, absolutely give this game a try. I know Dane has some experience with it. Dane actually purchased this game for me. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man. It should be fun. That old Atari style.
Yeah, it's a very interesting art style because it's kind of like retro 8-bit, but like 8-bit microcomputer. Like it's like an Atari ST computer or an Apple II or something. But then it does wild shit that they can't do either. I don't know. It seems like a new... And then like that rotoscope... it looks really sick.
I was about to mention the rotoscoping. It's so cool to me. But yeah, well then that just leaves running through the house cleaning here. If you would be so kind as to go leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and tell us what you think about us, or leave us a review on Spotify, that would be awesome. You want to join the Discord? Fuck Facebook, fuck Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. That shit's dead. You want to come join the Discord where it's popping? bit.ly/TSMP Discord. capitalize every single one of those letters except bit.ly. Capitalize it, and you'll be good to go. Link to the website would be bit.ly/The Steam Machine Podcast, capitalized phonetically. The Patreon, if you want to donate money to the show, which would literally help me pay bills at the moment, that would be super sweet. Patreon.com/The Steam Machine Podcast. And if you donate $10 or more each and every month, you get your name read out on each and every episode. Like these wonderful people: Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of June-iper, Jeff, the original Expendable, Mr. Syllables, old Jeffy Lube himself, Ariesoradam, shout out to his podcast Revival and Extinction, James the Steam Machine, home out of the hall, Team Retrogue, go check him out over on YouTube and on the JRPG Report with me, Mr. Puzzles, Dane himself, and Chad the Mad Lad, no goddamn seeing his last name, Shaffer. Thank you guys very much. I do appreciate it. It helps me out tremendously. If you want to check out, you want to get a shirt, tsmpproductions.threadless.com. You can be one of the few in the proud that can rep us on their body. Shout out the Aspod, yet another BS podcast. Shout out to the JRPG Report. You want to check out my music? I did release a new album recently. It is a hip-hop album and has gotten favorable reviews so far. I'm happy about it. NileTheNightmare.bandcamp.com. And again, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Boys, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nopers?
No? Nope. All right. Then we will be back next week to talk about some faith. So until then, guys, take it easy.